Hello and welcome. Today I'm on the borrowed plot, planting out and getting things tidy and set for the year. It's been done with drought in mind because the local water authority have banned hosepipe use, so that puts water in this plot totally out of the question because it'll be hand watering only, and it's too far distance between the tap and me, and I'm too lazy. Well, I'm not actually, but you know, you don't want to waste time for no good reason. So today's all about setting this plot up for retaining moisture. So let's get to it. Right. First of all, these two beds. This one was going to be potatoes, and it was changed before the drought to pumpkins. Unfortunately, it's just too much. It's not prepared enough. I don't really go to the extent of doing that, and it failed because of lack of water. So I've abandoned for the year, left fallow, cover with carpet, job done. This one is following on from the enormous success of last year, using black membrane as a way of suppressing moisture into the soil, and little techniques that I'll show you a bit later on to conserve moisture. I'm going to compare with these open no dig beds at the top here, see how well they fare. It'll be interesting to see. Now this bed here has been transferred over to pumpkins. It was going to be sweet corn too thirsty, so I've changed cropping ideas. They've been put in these containers which are bottomless so that they can give a better depth of compost for them to plant in, because pumpkins like their nutrition. The rest of the bed has been covered with both cardboard and grass. Grass is becoming quite rare because of the slowness in the growth, and the bottom part will be covered later on. I'll just need more materials. It's all about both weed suppression, which this will provide, and water suppression. The next bed over is onions, overwintering onions. They are suffering quite a bit, so I've given them a jolly good watering because they were starting to run to seed. It spoilt the crop a little bit. We'll have to see how it goes. We have got some garlic in there and some elephant garlic, and I need them to go to full maturity, so those will be left. I doubt that I'll water them again, but I'll have to monitor that. This bed is cabbages, newly planted. They will have to be hand watered. Watered until established, then they'll be left to their own devices. Compost this end, leaves that end, 6 inches at least, 9 inches probably, of leaves done earlier on in the year, much earlier in the year. We'll see how that goes. It's worth a try. It's following on from advice from Mark from I'm Organic Gardening. It suits his soil, let's see if it suits mine. So we're rewinding back to the start of preparing this lot. The first thing I did was pull away any plastic to examine underneath for slugs and snails, because it is a perfect hiding zone. And let's face it, black plastic as a nice source of a hidey hole for slugs and snails is perfect in the past month that it's been down. So it's worth pulling back, having a good look around, taking them off and relocating them to the woods, because they're perfect bird food. And they can take the chances if they can survive the walk back here. Anyway, do one side, then the other. Make sure all is collected up. It's too early for eggs, I think, so it should be okay from that perspective. But yeah, there's still a risk from the compost heap at the top of this picture, the old compost heap. It might crawl out from there. Anyway, so this is looking at the bed the other way around. This shows the mounds of compost I've prepared this bed with, but I want to go a little bit further. The gaps between the mounds I'm now going to fill in with yet more compost, not less where the X's are actually been indicated, so that when the rain falls, because this is on a slope, it'll act as like little mini reservoirs, and it'll soak into the ground where needed. I have got to block off where those green X's are as well, just to save the water all just gushing out one side. This is going back to last year. This was how luxuriant these beds were with the same plants. Absolutely lovely. No watering at all last year, and we had that big drought as well. Although we did have a spell in between, but knowing our wonderful country will degenerate into a wet summer yet again. It's so unpredictable in the UK. So what I'm doing now is I'm setting out the plants. These bottom two are courgette defender, and they're just putting it in the hose using your hands as a trowel, because the ground is just compost that you're planting into. I'm planting into. And then these squash plants. These are squash mashed potato. Yeah, don't ask. But yeah, they work really well, and yes, they do generally taste and feel like mashed potato, and they're a good replacement, and the calorie content is remarkably lower, so they're worth growing. There you go. I'll need to lose a bit, I'm afraid. Anyway, so I'm planting them into the planting holes and trying to make this barrier to divert the water from just pouring out to the sides. This isn't very good. I'll have to come back and do the side bit again. Okay. There we are. Nope, that's not good enough, Mike. It's not going to work. So that's a job to do later on. The top part here, I'm keeping the last two squash in a normal no dig bed, of which is got cardboard underneath. Noticeably, that cardboard had gone when I planted those, so it's already rotted away. Cardboard really doesn't last very long. Now the attention turns to paths. Now any greenery on this plot will suck out moisture, so it's important that this is treated just as the same as the beds, and all the greenery removed. This hoe is absolutely brilliant. It's from Wolf, and it's a push pull hose, so it cuts on the push out and the drawback, and it makes such light work of weeds, and it's perfect for wheat no dig because it skims just beneath the surface, so it doesn't really destroy the soil microorganisms. And of course these weeds that are chopped off, then they may start to regrow back, but I'm going to apply some mulch over the top, and that will be the end of that. And look how quick and easy it is just to hoe off a bed, remove all the annuals, job done. In this bed is going to go pumpkins. So I'm just thinking I really could have left those weeds down here to act as a mulch. I needn't have removed them really. Hey ho, bright idea after the event, isn't it? Anyway, so what this soil that's going in here was going to be for the tomatoes, but pumpkins are hungry plants, so I'm using it for them as a base, full of nutrition, which the pumpkins will need, of course. I'm now going to add in some spent potato compost just to mix in and to bulk it even further, because these two bottomless plant pots, whatever they are going to be filled up to the top with compost. So material has to be found. Now this is proud moment. This is the compost that was from all the stuff that would normally be chucked away, done in the autumn. I'll see if I'll put a link on the bottom. And look, it's got a few bits of a few bits of wood, but it's actually pretty good. I'm a little bit concerned about it being a little bit lively, so what I'm doing is I'm leaving a well in the centre of it, and I'll put some ordinary compost in the centre just to plant into, just to let the pumpkins start off. There is that compost, just as a barrier between the fresh compost and the roots. yeah, I'm delighted with that. By giving the pumpkins extra depth, you'll allow the roots to get stuck into plenty of organic matter and nutrition, and we can compare against how a normal no dig does. This last plant is going into composted ground with cardboard over the top of it. Let's just see how that reacts in comparison to the two that have had the special containers, as it were, bottomless containers. Now it is time for the paths to get a treatment. Again, it'll all help keep moisture down, not to a massive extent, but it'll keep the weeds down, which will stop them drawing off moisture from the beds. It will stop evaporation from the paths. So using the whole plot as an entire bed system, yes, it is important, because every bit of moisture that can be kept in the beds is good for the long term, season long term. This wood chip is the stuff we get free. It's nothing special. It's very cost effective because it's free. And this borrowed plot is starting to have all the wood fallen to bits a bit, really. But as I say, it's all going back to the owner this year, so it's I'm not going to spend too much time and effort on it. Excuse me. There we are. Job done. Right, onto the onion bed. In the picture now is spring planted garlic, doing rather well. Next up is overwintering onions. Now these seed heads you're seeing here, they need to be pinched off. They have been now. That will mean that the bulbs will be perfectly usable in the summer, but they won't keep. The elephant garlic, however, has the same characteristic, and it seems to happen every year. As long as you pinch them off, they keep perfectly fine. Just the central core will be unusable. The wind has got to this audio on this clip, so I apologise. What I'm trying to say there is, behind me there, all this is very wild, lots of places for slugs and snails to hide, so I'm a little bit worried about them easily accessing the newly planted cabbages. So what I've done is I've buried the netting as a physical barrier. This won't stop them completely, but it will certainly stop their easy access. Well, there you are. The plot's finished. Really only 2 days work to do the whole plot. Not bad at all for an old man with aching legs. Thanks for joining me.